Hi, welcome to Shared Frequencies and the Space Between, where heart meets brain and life happens in the messy middle.
We're two best friends navigating a new chapter, sharing a space, finding our rhythm, and tuning into life's transitions.
This is a space for deep and meaningful conversations about growth, connection, and everything in between. Let's tune in to today's frequency. Hi, and welcome to episode 16 of Shared Frequencies and the Space Between. This episode is called Unpacking More Than Boxes. So,
Yeah.
hold on to your hats. It might be an emotional one. As always, my name is Elle.
And I'm Don.
So, yeah, it has been a crazy week.
It has.
It's been a crazy week.
So, when we recorded the previous episode, I was getting ready to head back for the completion of the sale of my house.
Yeah.
So I was up the road for 4 days, 4.5 days.
Yeah, 5, yeah.
Just to clear out the last of me belongings.
Yes.
Ready for the new owners to take ownership, I suppose, to pass on the keys. So yeah,
Start their new chapter.
Yeah, and it feels like I've had lots of new chapters, but I suppose it's new paragraphs. The next paragraph in this chapter.
Yeah.
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 Is it a new chapter? Is it not a new chapter? Does it matter?
I know.
So that's been happening. I start work.
Yes.
This week.
Tomorrow.
Yep.
Very early tomorrow morning.
Very early tomorrow morning. Yeah, I'll have to be up with the what's the phrase? Up with the larks. I don't know. Up with the something. I can't remember. But there is a saying. Doesn't matter. Yeah, so that's kind of been that was last week. Then it came down, and then we decided we were going to rearrange some furniture.
Yes, we did. Yeah, over the weekend.
And then rearranged it all back. But we'll get into that
we did.
We'll get into that in more detail.
Yeah.
So
we did.
So yeah. So I mean, for me, up the road, it's strange. It was strange. As I've said on here before, I had no emotional connection to the house, but the house for me was a tool. It was a place for me where I was going to be close to my dad, to be able to make sure he was okay, with what he was going through. But then he passed away. So it just became a place to sleep and eat and whatnot for the most part, So yeah, there was no emotional connection to the house directly, but it was what it stood for.
Yeah.
So it was closing that door.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah.
On all of it, and offloading a lot of physical stuff as well.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since I've been that busy on Facebook Marketplace.
You did have a lot of stuff you needed to get rid of.
Yeah, I did. But it was good. It was cathartic.
That's a good word.
Yeah, it was cathartic.
Yeah.
Because it was like, and I also had to be able to fit the vast majority of it in my car.
Yes.
So yeah, I had taken stuff down previously, but this was the final haul of stuff that was kind of coming down. So yeah, it was emotional. I suppose it was emotional.
But I don't think it was the type of emotion that you had feared is maybe not the right word, but that you had thought it might be?
Well, I think feared is the right word, but I think so, I mean, and we've almost certainly mentioned the fact that I've not properly grieved the loss of either of my parents, and possibly not my older brother either, all in the last few years. You know, and I had this apprehension that moving on from the house might trigger that.
Yeah.
But I also know that I do need to properly grieve for that. And that hasn't happened yet.
No.
That hasn't happened yet. So it turned out not to be that, but it was. Yeah, it wasn't tough moving away, but it wasn't done easily.
No.
It wasn't done easily. My nieces and nephews are still up the road. I still have siblings up the road. So moving away wasn't easy. I did put on some pizza and chicken nuggets and stuff like that for the night before for nieces and nephews and stuff like that, which was good. It was good fun just to sit around with them and chat and eat pizza and just have a laugh and watch one of my younger nephews eat his own body weight in pizza and nuggets. He's like, there's a saying, if you've got hollow legs, I think he genuinely must have hollow legs given the amount of food that he puts away. So that closed that, and then that all finalised today, all the financial side of it and everything finalised today.
Got everything paid off.
It's all tied up. Everything's tied up and done and clean, and it was hassle-free. The dog's decided she wants in on the conversation again.
Yeah.
We'll maybe just have to get her a headset or mic her up and just make her an official member.
I don't think that would be terrible for anyone.
No. So I think she's having her 5 minutes of I want to play.
Funny 5 minutes.
Funny 5 minutes, yeah. So that's done. I cleared out a lot of stuff. Got all that tidied up. That's all done. And today, all the last loose ends on it were not loose ends. It was just stuff that was just going to take time.
Yeah.
Was done. So yeah, and then immediately tomorrow, starting in a new job. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Really looking forward to that because that'll be 6 months.
Yeah.
Since 6 months since I left my last job. It's 6 months since I left my last job. So yeah, looking forward to doing that. I'm going to be doing a bit of driving, which I do. I love driving.
Yes, you do.
Most people get stressed when they're behind the wheel of a car. It has the exact opposite effect for me. And the thing is everybody round about me can be driving like lunatics and whatnot, and I generally don't get stressed out by these things.
Yeah.
It's a really bizarre thing. So, but as you said, yeah, early start. I'll be out the door back at 6. UK back at 6, not Denmark back at 6.
Scotland back at 6.
Yeah. So just after 6.
Yeah. 15:15.
Yeah. To go and get started with that. So yeah. No, genuinely just looking forward to just having that.
Yeah. Getting that routine, getting that different sort of like, and different stimulants.
Yeah, because I mean, I've been looking for work. This is not the kind of work I was necessarily looking for.
No, and it's also not going to be your forever job. It's not. Like it's for however long you want it.
Yes.
but it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so because I've decided that I'm going to apply for university.
Yes.
As an immature student.
Yes, as an immature student.
Yes. So, yeah, well, I mean, this is what we forgot to put this down on the list of potential things we would talk about.
No, it's not.
Is it?
House officially gone and packed up. New job tomorrow. Future plans. University.
You wrote it down. I hadn't thought about it. So, yeah. So yeah, I've started my application process for going to university. All being well, I would start that in September.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
If there are any spaces.
If there are any spaces, because I am late to the game for applying for entry for this year. To do engineering. To do an engineering course or an engineering degree, not just a course. So yeah, never went to university when I left secondary education. And it is one of those things that I don't think it was a regret so much as I wish I'd done it. And I don't know if, you know what I mean? And yes, a lot of people will, and you're looking at me, a lot of people will say, well, surely those are the same things. And they're not. They're not the same. In my head, they're not the same.
Okay.
You know, I was kind of like, I wish I'd done it. Did I miss out on anything by not doing it? Did I miss out on the...
But you can regret not doing something whilst not regretting having done the other thing, right? So you can... You can have a regret about not going to university while still not regretting stepping into the job and getting the experience and having put on that path. Because if you hadn't been put on that path, you wouldn't be the person you are today.
And I wouldn't be sitting here right now.
Right.
You know.
So you can regret not going to university whilst not regretting the other thing.
It's the labels thing. People can put whatever label on it. Like, you know, it's a thing that I look back on and kind of gone, yeah, maybe I would have liked to have done that. So, yeah. But I'd always thought maybe it was like, did I miss out on the experience, the university life experience and whatnot? That was maybe.
But I think you got something very similar to what the university life is in your job in the bank, like that high flyer, like invincible kind of like feeling maybe. Of like, you know,
maybe.
Yeah,
maybe
in a different, in a different way. But I think,
yeah. So we were just sitting yakking about it, and you know, and it's kind of like, if I don't do it now, I never will.
No.
You know, and I'm still young enough where I can go to university, get a degree, go and work in that field, and get a good few years under my belt working in that field. You know, so this is not me just going to tick a box.
No, it's not.
Such.
No.
You know,
no.
I actually want to go and do a degree and get something that I want to use. Because I'm specifically looking at energy and renewables and environmental type engineering.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I'm excited for that. It's like properly excited for that. The more I think about it, it's you know how every now and again you get a thing that it's just even thinking about it brings a smile to your face. It's one of those things for me.
Yeah.
You know. So yeah, so that's another kind of decision that's been made in the last week.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me. I toyed with the idea when we were doing the kitchen and stuff. I'd kind of joke and go, maybe I'll go and be an electrician, or maybe I'll go and be a plumber. I quite enjoy doing that.
Yeah, like retraining for something.
Problem solving and doing a retraining thing. And then it was just like, I don't know what it was, and I was just like, I'm going to go to university. I'm just going to do it. You know, I'm in a position now where it's possible for me to go and do it. So I'm going to go and do it. You know, and if I get the course that I'm looking at, it's local-ish. You know, it's easy commute.
So what if you don't get in for this summer? Are you going to apply in January and then hope for September next year?
Yes. Yes. But there's also, because I can still go do study, and you can do some of the modules from within the degree are available as standalone courses.
Ah, okay.
So I could go and do a couple of the modules
And then
in
would
the other
that
room.
would
And
that
then you don't have to
lessen the
repeat
amount
them.
of credits that you would then have to
Yes.
do when you start? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you can. There is other ways that I could study over the
You
next.
could get started with
Yeah.
it. Mm-hmm.
You know.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah. So that's that. So yeah, I think that's kind of like where that's the catch up on the big things that have been kind of going on on my side of the world. On my side of the world. That sounded that sounded like you were from the other side of the world.
I mean, I
on my side of our world.
Yes, I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, and it's there may be more digging into feelings on these things to come down the line. It's all very new, very fresh.
Sorry,
I've not had a chance to see the move, not the move, the selling of the house, kind of stuff. You know, there may be more.
Sorry, my brain was still stuck on university.
Yeah, well, you did for your wacky university. You did your degree and then your master's.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you know, yeah.
But not all in one go.
No. So then, yeah, and then so passing the baton, kind of moving stuff around.
Yeah, well, obviously you brought a lot of stuff down.
Yes.
Yeah, you brought a lot of stuff down.
Yes.
And I don't know if have we mentioned that we're talking about doing the annex?
I don't know.
I don't remember.
No. But
I don't remember. Again, because these conversations, like this podcast, is just us having conversations. It is just us being us. So I don't remember if we mentioned. I think we might have like teased it a little.
Okay.
In the renovation reflections episode, I think we might have. So the original plan was that you were gonna move in here. It was gonna be sort of temporary.
Yes.
And then once you were settled with a job and the house had been sold and all had cleared and you could get a mortgage and all of that, that you were gonna buy a flat somewhere in the sort of near vicinity.
Yeah.
And then one day you said, just jokingly, you're like, oh, it would be so much easier if we just like built a tiny house in your back garden. And I was like, I don't hate that idea.
Yeah.
So we are actively looking into what is required for that. So like all of the planning permissions and all of the stuff. And now that the kitchen is sort of done, we are kind of
we're going to start
thinking about
putting that out.
Yeah, exactly. Because getting the planning permission is going to be the first sort of step for that. So, and with that, you would have your own space.
Yeah.
So your own bedroom and your own bathroom. And then we would be sharing the living room and the kitchen.
Common spaces.
Yeah, exactly. But there would be a higher degree of sort of like private space type thing. Yeah. So with that, and obviously with the kitchen having been sorted, and you've mentioned it a few times over the past 4.5 years, 5 years I've been in the house, you're like, oh, have you ever considered shifting things around? And you could have your sofa over here and that. And I've been like, yeah, but that's not what I want. This is my space, these are my rules. I haven't even thought about it because it's just wrong. So no. And then you mentioned it again when you came back from having been off the road. And I was like, okay, well, actually, let's look at it. Let's explore it.
it came up when, because you're talking about, because I mentioned getting a biofuel fire.
Yeah.
And then it was just like, oh, well, maybe where are you going to put it? Because if you get a biofuel fire, you're not tied to putting it where the previous.
Yeah. So the flat is an old Victorian building built in the early 1900s compared to me being from the late 1900s. Fucking hate that. Yeah. So the flat is built there, and it was built with a lot of I'm gonna sneeze. Oh, I am so sorry. So it was built with fireplaces, one in the living room and one in the master bedroom. There's another sneeze coming. Oh, I'm so sorry. And I have been talking about for the last few years, maybe, opening up the fireplace in the living room and getting a log burning fire stove there. I think there's another sneeze coming. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm literally sneezing into the microphone. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I'll do something with that and edit.
Yeah, please do. Talking about getting, opening up the fireplace and all of that, but like that means like opening the wall and opening the fire bit again, and then getting a tube up and getting the chimney looked at. It's just very cumbersome. And then your brother had mentioned that they were gonna look at getting something like this.
Yes.
So we were talking, and then we were like, oh yeah, well, where would it go and where would it fit, and how, if we're gonna swap things around. And then it was like, well, you could just like flip the dining thing. And I was like, oh yeah. And then I was like, actually, it could look really nice on that wall because it's a big wall and there's lots of opportunity and things there. And then we started talking about different sofas and like just changing the layout, and that would also make this space a joint venture instead of it being my furniture and my design and my layout and that.
Yeah.
And I am aware that that's a me thing, that it's important for me that you feel comfortable in this space and that you feel some sort of like not ownership of the space, but ownership of the space. I don't know how to...
Contributor to the space.
Yeah, but also just like that you feel like you're also surrounded by your stuff. And I think that's obviously because I've been in so many situations where I have not felt comfortable in a space.
But we also, and because you've mentioned that a few times, it's like you wanted me a bit of my stamp to be on it as much as your stamp on it. But I kind of feel that not necessarily that has my design influence on it, but I helped you move in.
Yes.
And
you hung everything.
And I was part of those conversations and thought processes and stuff like that you were going through when the place was being laid out. So
and also when I was buying this stuff.
Yeah.
Right, like you were the one that we were walking around and we were talking and we were like, oh, actually that sofa and that would work really well with that colour and like, in the space and things.
There is already a bit of me in there.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good perspective that I hadn't thought about because, again, ultimately, it was my decision and it was my stuff and, so I've never thought about it that way. I haven't thought about it that way. So we were playing around with a few ideas of swapping the dining room area bit in the living room and the sofa lounge kind of area around. And that was emotional.
Yeah. Well, we decided, like, let's just shift it, look at it, sit with it, see what it feels like.
Yeah. And I knew that was going to be tough for me.
Yeah.
Like, I knew that was going to be tough for me. I don't like it when my physical space changes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't like it.
Yeah.
Like, it makes me very physically uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And sometimes I just need to sit with it for a little bit. Like, you know, when I was doing my bedroom, when I was moving everything in there, and that would make me very uncomfortable, and I felt like I was suffocating, and I didn't like it. I really didn't like it. But it works. And I'm very happy in that space now. And now I'm a little like, eventually when things start moving out of that bedroom again, that's going to feel really bare, and it's going to feel weird. So, but I didn't feel alienated, or like, I didn't feel the space when I changed the stuff in my bedroom. I never felt, it never felt wrong.
Yeah.
It was just different, and it made me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Whereas we started moving things around in the living room, and that felt wrong. It felt really wrong.
Yep.
Yeah. So I had a bit of a meltdown.
You didn't have a meltdown.
It felt like a meltdown.
Yeah.
Like internally,
yeah.
It felt like a meltdown. Like I couldn't breathe.
Yeah. You had a reaction.
Oh no, I had a really physical reaction.
Yeah.
And like when I was trying to put words to it and try and explain it, and like whilst processing it and figuring it out, like my entire throat just closed out. But like I couldn't breathe properly when I was in the room. Like it felt really wrong. And like we went away, I went to cinema and came back, and as we were driving back, I didn't want to enter the house.
Yeah.
Like I didn't want to enter the house, and I didn't want to spend time in the living room. I was like, well, if I'm going to be in the house, I can just like be in my bedroom and be in the kitchen, and I can just like close my eyes and walk through the living room. It's like, this is clearly not like a thing that's just gonna pass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that was I mean, obviously the idea of moving it, because we were just going, we'll move it with the furniture and that's already here, we'll not, you know, was just to see.
And it was, yeah.
And I mean, it was never done to see if it would make you feel uncomfortable, or it was just done to see if it would work.
We knew, but I knew it was going to make me feel uncomfortable one way or another, whether it's going to be good or not. Like I knew that it would make me feel uncomfortable, but it was just like, I think it was also like the furniture clearly don't work in the other spaces.
No.
Like they don't work in the other spaces. The dining room table is too big to be in the other area of the room.
Yeah.
It's too big. There's too much space over by the kitchen door. Without the lounge section there, which is weird, and the sofa was also too big with that, which is weird because it's a 2-seater sofa, but it looked too big, and it was at an angle, and it was blocking getting into the area with all of the candles and the dog food, and like it was just.
But ultimately, it wasn't the issue wasn't the practicality of it, because practicality stuff we can fix, because we were thinking about the potential of a new sofa and whatnot. It was the energy thing. Yeah,
exactly. So like so that was one thing, right? That the furniture didn't work in those spaces. Yeah. Like they just didn't. But the big thing for me was that the energy just felt off.
Yeah.
And like the energy in the room completely changed. completely changed. And it was like, and again, I couldn't fully explain it.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't fully put words to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then in the evening, I think it was you who mentioned it. Or maybe it was me, I don't know. But we got talking about like walking into the room and the first thing you see is the dining room table. Right? And it was like, it's cold and it's hard and it's all sharp edges and it's like, it's not like, I don't like it.
Yeah.
And it's the first thing you see walking into the room from any direction. And it's just, it doesn't have that hygge factor.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, it's almost like commercial. And when you said commercial, it's like, exactly, yes, that's what it is.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Yeah.
And then we got to the point, because when we first did it, you were like, no, I need to sit with it for a bit. I need to, you know, and we'll see how I feel. But I went off to cinema and I came back and I could just tell that it didn't matter. Sitting with it was only going to make you feel worse.
Yeah, well, it wasn't going to resolve it. I don't think it was going to make me feel worse. But it wasn't going to resolve it, right? I wasn't going to come around to it. Yeah,
and for me, I was the same as you when I moved it. I was kind of like, I agreed. It didn't work. I didn't have the same reaction to it because our personalities are very different in that regard.
Yeah.
And I could see it just like, and I was like, yeah, it's not working. And it was, we tried it.
We tried it.
And I was like, yeah, we will shift it back.
Yeah, theoretically, it was a great idea, right? Getting the nook and that, but it just doesn't work for the space.
No.
It just doesn't.
No. But what the point I'm trying to make here is like we were on the same page.
Oh yes, yeah. No, it wasn't that you were just indulging me and being like, oh my God, she's so hysterical, whatever, we'll just change it back. Like that was not what it was.
No, it was that 100% was not that. When we moved the stuff, I was like,
Yeah.
You know, because we had the sofa facing one way, and then I was thinking, well, maybe if we turn the sofa the other way, but then that doesn't give us the kind of nook kind of thing
cozy,
that we had talked about.
Yeah.
And it was just like, and it just wasn't going to work.
No.
It just wasn't.
And I was trying really hard to find a sort of a happy medium, where I was like, if you can just find a sort of happy medium and then you can leave it and you can sit with it and then you can sort of like digest it and then you'll see whether or not it's because it's just change and you don't like it and it'll grow on you, or if it's because it's generally wrong.
Yeah.
And I was just like, no, it's proper wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so we moved it back.
We did.
But when the time is right, we are going to look at possibly getting a couple of different bits of furniture and stuff like that. You know, but the layout of the room will remain.
It will.
Largely as is.
Yeah.
You know, because, and one of the considerations and one of the things that kind of came up when we were talking is, well, at the moment, if we want to have somebody come and stay, you know, short of pitching a tent in the back garden, you know.
Well, yeah. So as long as you're in the guest room,
yes.
You know, we don't have space. If anyone is going, sorry, my chest is being really loud. I think I'm having a little bit of like pollen, sort of like hay fever type thing, and it's so apologies for all of the unintended sound effects today. But yeah, so as long as you're in the bedroom, we don't have space for anyone else to come visit. Once the annex is built, that's going to be different. But yeah, it was
But in the interim, you know,
Yeah.
we were kind of going, well, if we get a sofa bed type setup in the lounge, then
yeah,
we can do that.
Yeah.
In the interim.
Yeah.
So more trips to IKEA.
Or Donnell. Donnell had some really nice sofas.
They do.
Yeah, some really nice sofas.
Yeah. Oh, we shouldn't be dropping names unless they want to sponsor us. You know, that we had that and things, and actually we have been shifting bits and pieces, not shifting, but we've been adding bits and pieces in the garden as well.
Yeah.
You know, I came home one day from a trip to B&Q to get some screws or something with a picnic table.
Yep.
So that's been added to the back garden, and then despite having to fill my car with all my stuff coming back down the road, I also decided that I was going to buy a it's been refurbished, cast iron ended garden bench.
Yeah.
To take down.
Well, you've really taken to sitting outside in the mornings.
I have.
You really have.
Yeah, but I mean, it's also the weather's been great, so that's helped.
Yeah.
But it's just that, and I do really try not to touch my phone until I've been out and had a couple of minutes outside in the garden. You know.
Yeah.
So that's my wake up. You know, getting outside, getting some fresh air and whatnot into it before I then inevitably start looking at what's on my phone. You know, so I've added some touches.
You have
in the garden, but I mean that I couldn't not buy that bench.
It's a very pretty bench.
Yeah.
It's a very pretty bench.
Maybe I'll put a photo of it on our social media.
I think you should.
And it's really the gentleman that I bought it from had done several of them. And one of I don't know how far in the past it was, I looked to buy a load of these bench ends, these old, I think maybe Victorian cast iron bench ends. There's somebody who was selling a heap of them, and I was going to go and try and buy them, but somebody beat me to it. And the gentleman I bought it from, he wasn't there. It was his wife I was speaking to. And I was going to try and find out if he was the person that actually bought them. And done, because he's just done what I was going to do with them. It was just clean them up, give them a paint, put fresh wooden slats and stuff and that on them. You know, so yeah, I have had one of those types of benches on my radar for a good long time. Yeah. And we now have one. Yes. You know? And it's very comfortable. It is very comfortable. It's very comfortable. Yeah. So, anything else? Has there been anything else? No, I think that's it. Shall we just wrap it up? Let's do it. Let's do it. If I can find it. There we go. So we've been playing a little bit around. So thanks for hanging out with us on Shared Frequencies and the Space Between. If we helped you find clarity or got you thinking, you're welcome. If you liked it, subscribe, review, and share. If you didn't, just pretend you did. So we'll catch you next time on the same wacky wavelength. Thank you. Bye. Bye.